Here's what else I learned, the skills of building an organization. Learn to work with the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. You must be like life itself, respond to deserve, not to need. It doesn't say if you need, you will have a harvest. It doesn't say if you need a harvest, you'll have a harvest. It's not what it says. It says if you plant, chances are good you'll have a harvest. If you plant, you will reap. Not if you need, you will reap. So we must be like life itself. Respond to the people who deserve it by planting, by taking the first step. Even God himself says, if you move toward me, I'll move toward you. That's the condition. You move toward me, I'll move toward you, says the Almighty. Now he could also say, you don't move, I don't move. You say, well, that's arbitrary. Now, learn to work with the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. Now, here's what's the next step. Teach people how to deserve your time. Teach people how to deserve your attention. Teach people how to deserve a phone call. Say, Mary, you just take this one step and I take 2 steps. You take 2 steps, I take 5 steps. You don't step, I don't step. But this isn't hard now. You step, I step. You respond, I respond. You try, I try. You make a call, I back you up. Right? Learn to teach people how to deserve your time and your attention. Next, I learned to work by group more than individual. Here's why. 80% of the people do 20% of the business. All of you do 1,000, but you can't carry 3 on your back. You can help 1,000, but you can't carry 3 on your back. But you can't carry 3. All around all your life. You can't be carried all your life. So as quickly as possible, you can help 1,000, but you can't carry 3. Next, don't expect the pear tree to bear apples. I used to try to change everything. You can hang apples on a pear tree. I'm telling you, it won't help. You can put up a sign, this is an apple tree. Sure enough, come the season, pears. If you will change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside. To have more, you simply have to become more. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Start working on yourself, making these personal changes. And he said it'll all change for you.
Positive influence can have an incredible effect on your life, but so can negative influence. Both will take you somewhere, but only one will take you in the direction you truly wish to go. It's so easy just to dismiss the things that influence our lives. The man says, I live here, but I don't think it matters. I'm around these people, but I don't think it hurts. I would take another look at that. I've got a good phrase for you. Everything matters. Now, so you've got to keep checking to find out whether associations are tipping the scales toward the positive or toward the negative. It doesn't hurt to look, right? Ignorance is never the best policy. Finding out is the best policy. People around us can keep nudging us off course a little at a time until finally, 10 years from now, we find ourselves asking, how did I get here? Those subtle influences need to be studied carefully if we really want our lives to turn out the way we've planned. Now, on this major point, let me give you 3 key questions to ask. This may help you to make a better analysis of your current associations. Here is the first question. Who am I around? Good question. Make a mental study of the major people with whom you most often associate. You've got to evaluate everybody who is within the circle of being able to influence you. So, major question, who am I around? Next question, what are they doing to me? That's a major question to ask. What have they got me doing? What have they got me listening to? What have they got me reading? Where have they got me going? What have they got me thinking? How have they got me talking? And how have they got me feeling? What have they got me saying? You've just got to make a serious study of how others are influencing you, both negatively and positively. Now, maybe the influence of all those around you is okay, but just ask yourself. It doesn't hurt to ask. Who am I around? And what are they doing to me? Now, here's the final question. Is that okay? Maybe the people you associate with and their collective influence is okay, but then again, maybe it's not. All I'm suggesting here is that you take a close and objective look. Everything is worth a second look, especially the power of influence. Perhaps you've heard the story of the little bird. He had his wing over his eye and he was crying. The owl said to the little bird, "You're crying." "Yes," said the little bird, and he pulled his wing away from his eye. "Oh, I see," said the owl. "You're crying because the big bird pecked out your eye." And the little bird said, "No, I'm not crying because the big bird pecked out my eye. I'm crying because I let him." Hey, it's easy to let influences shape our lives, to let associations determine our direction, to let persuasions overwhelm us, to let tides take us, to let pressures make us. The big question is, are we letting ourselves become what we wish to become? Never underestimate the power of influence. Most important subject of association, here are some actions you may want to take. First, disassociation. You may, after a study of those 3 questions, who am I around, what are they doing to me, and is that okay, you may come to the serious conclusion that there are some people you just have to break away from. I'm not saying that it's an easy step to take, and it's not to be taken lightly. However, I am saying it may be an essential task. Otherwise, if you're not careful, you can get trapped into spending heavyweight time with lightweight people. Now, it's okay to have casual friends as long as you give them casual time, not serious time. Spend major time with major influence and minor time with minor influence. It's so easy to do just the opposite, but don't let it be said that you fell into that trap. So maybe all you need to do to change some of the influences in your life is not to eliminate them, but merely limit them. Say, I have a good time with these people, but I'm not going to spend days and days with them anymore. Rather than put it where the taste is brief and the results are poor. Of course, you must be the judge. You must determine whether the situation and the people call for disassociation or limited association. But remember, if it isn't taking you where you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now is the time to fix it. The third process is the one I most strongly suggest you begin, and that is called expanded association. That is, spending more time with the right people, people of substance and culture, people who understand philosophy and discipline, people of accomplishment and character.
One that's been building for months, maybe even years. You've been giving your all at work, in relationships, in life, yet something feels off. It's as if you're running on a treadmill, expending enormous energy, but going nowhere. This morning, in the quiet of your kitchen, that feeling crystallizes into a clear thought. I'm not valued here. Things will get better, or at least I know what to expect here. We rationalize our reluctance to leave, fearing the unknown that lies beyond our comfort zone. But here's the truth, a truth that might be uncomfortable to hear, but one that could transform your life. Staying where you're not valued is far more costly than the risk of leaving. Every day you spend in an environment that doesn't recognize your worth, you're not just standing still, you're moving backward. Your talents are being wasted, your potential untapped, your spirit slowly crushed under the weight of indifference, or worse, disrespect. You feel challenged, but in a way that leads to growth, not burnout. In personal relationships, being valued means your partner, friends, or family members appreciate you for who you are, equipped to handle setbacks and challenges. You develop a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth and being willing to act on that knowledge. Let me tell you another story. This one is about a man named John. John was in a long-term relationship that, from the outside, seemed perfect. He and his partner had been together for years. They had a beautiful home and they were respected in their community. But inside the relationship, John felt invisible. His opinions were dismissed, his needs were ignored, and his accomplishments were belittled. For years, John tried to make it work. He went to counseling, he communicated his feelings, he tried to change himself to be what he thought his partner wanted. But no matter what he did, nothing changed. His partner continued to treat him with indifference at best, contempt at worst. John's self-esteem plummeted. He began to believe that maybe this was all he deserved. One day, while having coffee with an old friend. John found himself sharing his frustrations. His friend listened patiently and then asked him a simple question. "John, if your child was in a relationship like yours, what would you tell them to do?" That question hit John like a thunderbolt. He realized that he would never want someone he loved to stay in a situation where they weren't valued. And in that moment, he understood that he needed to extend that same love and protection to himself. Years of being alone, of starting over, of what others might think. But he also knew that staying would mean giving up on himself, and that was a price he was no longer willing to pay. The months following his decision were challenging. John had to rebuild his life, rediscover who he was outside of his relationship, and learn to trust his own judgment again. But with each passing day, he felt lighter, more authentic, more alive. 2 years later, John had created a life he loved. He had deepened his friendships, pursued hobbies he'd long neglected, and even started his own business. Most importantly, he had rediscovered his own worth. And from this place of self-value, he eventually found a new relationship.
Understand. I'm a nice guy. I try to help everyone. I never say no. But somehow, I'm not where I want to be. People walk over me. Opportunities slip away, and my success is stuck in neutral. It's a problem that many of us face, and it's this: being too nice. I could see the frustration on his face, but more importantly, I saw the problem. But being too nice, in the wrong way for the wrong reasons, and without boundaries, can hold you back from success. When you're constantly trying to please everyone, you start to lose yourself. You lose your voice. You lose your priorities. You lose your time. How are you supposed to reach your goals? How are you supposed to grow and develop if all your energy is spent trying to keep the peace? They'll take more than you're willing to give, and because you're too nice, you'll keep letting them. Before you know it, you're overworked, underappreciated, and drained emotionally, mentally, and physically.
Show people how to deserve your time. Work with the people who deserve it, but show them how to deserve your time, your attention, your information.